Alright, welcome back to tutorial number 3 in this Pygame game development series. Now, originally in this tutorial, I was planning to go over the Pygame.draw module, but I decided against that. A, because that would be boring, and I'll save that for a little later, and B, that doesn't really help us with what we have so far. So we're going to be expanding on what we have so far today. So last time we built a program, we wrote some code that puts the background, the cube, onto the screen. Today, we're going to be expanding on that. We're going to be moving the cube. Basically what I want to do is when I press my arrow keys on my keyboard, I want the cube to move. So we're going to talk about key events, or keyboard events. So if you look at the Pygame documentation, we're going to go to key and get this page. This gives you a list of every single possible key in Pygame. This is what you would type in Pygame. This is the ASCII form, and this is the common name. So we're going to be working with up arrow, down arrow, right arrow, and left arrow. There was a K up, K down, K right, K left. Notice that each one of these keys starts with a capital K and an underscore, followed by either a number, lowercase letter, or word all capitalized. So, as I said, we're going to be working with these four today, because those are our keys on those keys. So, let's get started. Now, before we actually get started, I want to change a few things in the code. I'm going to put these in the while loop. This is actually very bad practice. Not even very bad practice, just very bad to do. I don't know why I did that. Okay, we need to do that. And I'm also going to set two variables, x equals 350, y equals 250. Those will represent the x and y coordinates of the cube, because we will be changing them as we move. Now, why is this bad, as I said? Well, this is while true, so it'll stack on top of each other. When the game starts, it'll come to this loop, it'll search for quit, there's no quit, so it'll split the background and the cube on top of it, and it'll update the screen. Then it runs again. There's no quit. So it'll put another background and put another cube on top of the new background. Then it'll update the screen. Then it goes again, and it just keeps stacking on top of each other. Now, I actually wrote the entire program before I started just to make sure I wouldn't mess up or anything. And it didn't slow down my computer, but I'm pretty sure that's what it does. I mean, I think that would make sense, because Blink draws it, so then it'll draw a background, draws the cube on top, then draw a background on top, draw another cube on top. Just keep stacking on top. So it's not really good to have that. Take up quite a bit of memory, I believe. So, but for the sake of this, we're going to do it. Now, also there's the method, or not, let's just use the word technique, because method can refer to function in other languages. The technique we're going to use today in order to make these move is very bad practice. It's just bad. It's not it's not super bad that it won't work. Definitely will work, but it's just bad because basically when you want to have moving objects, you want to have sprites. Sprites are basically the objects in the game. The player, items, those type of things. You want to split images like the background, maybe the main menu, those type of things. But for the actual objects that you're going to use in the game, you want to use sprites. Today we're not using sprites because, well, I don't want to go over them right now. We're going to go over sprites in a later tutorial. The goal of this tutorial is not to teach you how to really do the proper way of animation, but more rather to teach you about keyboard events. That is the goal of this tutorial, as you can see in the title of this. So let's get started. So when you press a keyboard, or when you press a key on your keyboard, that's an event. So we're going to go into our event loop. So so it's going to return the list of events. It's going to loop through it. So we're going to see if the user presses a key. So that event is called Pygame.keyDown. We can see it here if we go to event. Let's just scroll back down right now. Alright, if you go to event, you notice this is your list of events. These are all of the possible events. Key down is also key up, mouse motion. These are all of the events that are included in Pygame, the default one. Assuming you don't install or download any other libraries. So key down, basically that's whenever the user presses a key. Remember, an event is anything that occurs, movement of mouse, pressing the key. Those are all events. So in this event, the user presses down the key. He does not have to hold it. And I'm just using he, it could be a she, but just using he. So I don't have to say he/she. I'm just going to use the term he. So let's see. This, and it'll only work once. If the user holds down the button, that won't really, or at least I don't think it will trigger it more than once. I'm pretty sure it does not, because I tested it and it doesn't work. Yeah, so it'll press down, then it'll execute that event, and it'll just go only once. You lift up, press again, it'll go again. So we're going to have to do those for every single arrow key. Now, however, key down is not specific to any key, so we have to specify which key. So we're going to do if event.key. So event is basically our main thing, event, and then key is a, I don't know, I don't think it's called a subclass of key, but basically like sort of key is part of the event. So it's like a property. I haven't done Python in quite a while actually as well. Like I remember all the Python syntax and everything, but I don't remember all the terms. What's this called? Like I don't know what it's called in Java and C++ and stuff because I do those very often, but whatever. Alright, so if event.key, basically key is a property of event. It's a property. Like so event is basically like the main thing for event. And just saying you don't have to label this event. You could call this ASDF, then you would change this to ASDF, and you would change this to ASDF, and you would change this to ASDF. Okay? But that's not what I'm going to do. Remember, in for loops, when you say for a variable, I call it a dummy variable. I don't know if that's the actual term or not, because like in math, if you have a summation or a product, and if you write it in like sigma or the uppercase pi notation, you would have a dummy variable. So I'm just calling those dummy variables because like they don't have any use. They're just a placeholder. So if event.key, so we're taking the event and we're first checking if it's a key down event where you press a key. If it is, then we're going to check which key it is. So if the key is k underscore up, and notice that's right here, k underscore up, and whoopsies, we need to have pygame.k underscore up. K underscore up by itself is not defined. It is a variable in the Pygame library, so we have to specify that. Remember, like if we would do import math, then if you want to use a function, we do math dot the function. So in this case, we have Pygame dot k up. That's just a variable. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to move the cube up. So we basically, when we're moving up, we decrease in y, because remember, 0, 0 is the top left corner here, and this is the decreasing value of y. This is increasing value of y. Down is increasing, up is decreasing. So we're going to decrease the value of y. So I'm just going to do y minus equal to 1. Now, I've tested this program before because I made it before, right before this tutorial, as I said. And if you do it 1, you can barely see the movement. Like you won't be able to see it, but it's very small. It's very annoying to move. So I'm going to set this equal to 10. Now we have to do the same thing for the other events. And actually, I want to show you this right now. Let's just test this out right now. Let's just make sure this works. I haven't made any errors. So if I press the up key, it moves up. If I hold the up key, it only moves up once. There definitely is a way to make it so that if you hold down the key, it'll keep moving. We'll probably do that next tutorial once I do a little reading on how to do that, or maybe not reading, once I just figure out how to do that. But I'll just keep pressing up. It'll keep going up. If I press left, down, or right, it doesn't work because I haven't written code for it yet. And notice the cube just goes right off the screen. We're going to be fixing that part in the second part of this tutorial. So now let's get the other keys working first. So if event.key is equal to pygame.k underscore down, well, we want this to go down, so we add to y, because when y increases, we're moving down. If event.key is equal to pygame.left, what are we going to do now? We're moving left, so well, left is the decreasing value of x, so we'll subtract 10. And if event.key is equal to pygame.k right, then we're just going to add 10, because that is the increasing value of x. So now let's test that. And you notice I could go up, I can go outside the screen. We're going to set that border right after this. We can get back in. We can go this way. And we can go down. We can go left, and it's all working except for, well, yeah, the borders, like the boundaries. So we're going to set boundaries. So yeah. So we're going to be setting boundaries now. This is going to be in our while loop because we want to check for it every time it moves. So basically, yeah. So we put this in our while loop, but outside the for loop, because for loop is specifically for for loop is for it's specifically for the events. So we're going to check now. How do we check this? We want to make sure that the cube does not go outside the boundaries. Well, we can do this by just 4 if statements. I'll explain this. It should be pretty self-explanatory. If x is less than 0, I'm going to set x equal to 0. Let's just have space. So we'll have x equals 0. That just looks ugly. X less than 0. X equals 0. Okay, how do I make this look nicer? Sorry, I'm just picky like this. I don't like that look either. Let's see. That looks all squished up. If I do that, that looks too spaced out. I typically do equals like this, right? And yeah, you don't have to get it like you could do this. So you could have a new line and then x equals 0, but that just takes way too much space for me. So I'm just going to do this. X is less than 0. Have x equals 0. Okay. Now that basically what that does. I'll just show you right now. So remember, x is the top left corner of the cube. It's the x value, the top left corner. So we haven't done anything else here. So it can go above the screen, but it will not be able to go to the left of the screen. Let's check it out. So we go, and now I'm still hitting the key. You can hear it, but it's not moving. That's because we prevented it from moving. So what this basically says, it still technically moves, but this is all done before the display is updated. So you don't see like a sudden blur in the screen. It's like if a blur in the screen would cause so it tries to move left, but then it just moves back immediately. That would cause a blur in the screen. But what happens here is that we reach the edge. So let's say x is equal to 0. We press the left key, and then x is equal to negative 10. And the program will run in order. So then it sees if x is less than 0, well, negative 10 is less than 0. So I'm going to execute this. I'm going to set x equal to 0. So then we put the cube at x equals 0, not x equals negative 10. And then we update the screen. Or flip it, but the same thing as updating. It's just different methods, functions, and you don't really see a blur because it's fixed before you update the screen. Now we do the same thing with the other side. Now, if you do x is greater than 800 and you set x equals 800, I want to show you what happens. That's all you might think you want to do. Let me just show you what happens and why that is wrong. So it goes past, and then I'm still hitting the right key, so it's probably going, if you think it's going past, it's going to go all the way here, right? Let's hit the left key. It's back. Apparently that's the max it can go right there, and then it goes back. Well, let's remember the x value we set it to. X is the x coordinate of the top left corner. So if we set x max is 800, then it'll go all the way up to here. All the way up to x equals 800. And by then, the right side is at x equals 900. So we don't really want to set x max to equal 800. Let's not do that. We wanted to set it to 700. 800 minus 100 because the cube is 100. Okay, I don't know why I call it a cube. It's a square, but whatever. I'm just going to call it a cube. The cube, or square if you prefer, is actually 100 by 100, so we have to subtract 100. So now we do the same thing for y. If y is less than 0, we could set y equals 0 because it's the y coordinate of the top left corner. Same thing here. Y, the square is 100 blocks wide, or tall if you want to call it that. 100 blocks long up and down. Y, not greater than 0. What is it? 500. Y will equal 500. Remember, so if the top left corner is at 500, then the bottom corners will be at y equals 600. So that will reach the end, and that will look like it's hitting the boundary. So we can test it out. So if we go over here, and then we go here, and now you see this red line at the bottom. Well, that's because if you remember from my last tutorial, I showed you my image. The background is only it's 801 by 599, so it's 1 pixel there. I'm going to fix that before the next tutorial because that's just annoying me. I'm just saying I don't have OCD or anything. I'm just really picky on certain things. So we can keep going this, and my finger's getting tired, so we're probably going to fix that next tutorial, or not fix it, we're just going to improve it. We're going to make it so that if you hold down it, it'll keep moving. We're probably going to do that next tutorial. Alright, that's that for now, I guess. Hope you enjoyed, and I guess it won't hurt if I go through this one more time. So first of all, I put these two functions in here so that they would constantly occur. Remember, this is not a good method. Technique. You don't typically want to do this. Typically, first of all, you want to do a sprite, and also you don't want to put these in here because they'll just stack on top of each other. If I'm not mistaken. Okay, was I speaking too fast? Let's try that again. It will stack on top of each other, if I'm not mistaken. So now here, basically, this checks for the events. Key down is when an event, any event where the user presses a key, that is pygame.keydown. That's the event. But that doesn't specify which key. So the property type of the event is key down. Property key, the key property of event, which key it is specified here. And then if that specification is met, then we determine which way it goes. And again, I'm not sure if it's called property or not. I'm just calling it that. Yeah, I haven't really done Python in quite a while. I remember all the syntax, but not exactly all the terms. Alright, that's enough for me babbling on. Hopefully you understood. If you don't understand, watch it again. And if I'm speaking too fast, well, I don't think I'm speaking too fast, but sometimes I can speak very fast like this and you won't understand the thing I say. So I will try to speak slower now. But anyway, alright, enough of me babbling. See you next time.